Good afternoon, folks. My name's Dave Blanford. I'm the head of enterprise sales for CDW in Eastern Canada. I wanted to welcome all of you on a Friday afternoon for joining us on this very topical presentation of a safer way to check employees' temperatures. William Chan from Dell Technologies will be our guest speaker today. And again, I wanted to thank William and the Dell team for arranging to present to us this afternoon. There will be a question and answer period, by the way, folks, at the end of William's presentation. There have been a number of presentation or questions already presented to the panel, and we will be addressing those first. But by all means, if you have any additional questions that come up throughout the presentation today, please fill your questions out on the right-hand side of the WebEx screen there. You've got to, and we'll do our best to get those questions addressed as we proceed through the presentation today. So William, you're driving. If you wanted to flip to the first move to the first slide, and then I'll give everyone a brief presentation or a brief introduction to CDW. For many of you who have been longstanding clients of CDW, you're probably very well aware of the fact that back January of 2019, CDW acquired Scalar Decisions, and now we are Canada's largest IT integrator. We are by far and away the leader in the Canadian marketplace. We have roughly 900 employees in Canada, with 290 plus field technology specialists able to assist our clients with integrating many of our technology solutions. We've made many investments in the past number of years as an organization around being able to integrate some of the solutions that we've been known to bring to the market. And we're very proud of our current presence in the Canadian marketplace. And we'll take you through a few more slides to discuss that moving forward. So if you want to go to the next slide, William, that'd be great. Just a quick history on CDW. As I mentioned, many of you probably know the organization, have known us for many years, but very interesting facts to lay out. Obviously, we were first founded by Michael Krasny out of Chicago way back in 1984. That was my first year of university, by the way, for those who know me in the industry. Interesting, he started out with an ad in the local newspaper and had an overwhelming response for requests for sales of PC. Being the entrepreneurial gentleman he did, it was the start of the CDW as we know it. Over those past number of years, since 1984 up until today's date, we have grown, fairly steadily organically over the last number of years till probably around 2015, when CDW acquired a UK-based organization by the name of Kelway. The primary motivator for the integration or procurement of Kelway was because they have a strong professional services led practice in that country. CDW recognized the importance of being able to have a strong architecturally led and engineering led type solution base. And from that point forward, we've established a very strong global presence and are more and more focused on the solutions-led approach to taking on the market challenges. Moving forward up until 2019, we've been, as I mentioned previously, CDW Canada acquired Scalar Decisions. There was roughly 350 people in that organization that have been integrated into CDW Canada. And as I mentioned, now we are Canada's by far and away leading IT solutions provider in the marketplace. Again, the methodology or the thought process behind acquiring Scalar was, again, having that strong architectural and solution-led presence. And as you can see, since January of 2019, we had another very strategic acquisition of Aptris, which is a elite ServiceNow IT solution provider. So again, we're augmenting our current our digital transformation practice with the elite services of our new partners from Aptris. Next slide, please, William. This slide's a little bit dated. Again, we just had an announcement out late last week that CDW is now number 178 on the Fortune 500 list. Something we're very, very proud of. We are the third largest ranked IT services organization in North America, or globally, in fact. Our projected sales for 2020. Again, this is a dated slide a bit, but again, our 2020 fiscal year projections are in the neighborhood of $18 billion. Our customer base is continuing to grow. We have a very strong base of 250,000 customers globally. Our coworker base, with a number of recent acquisitions, is now up closer to 10,500 internationally. Next slide, please, William. In the Canadian marketplace, obviously, with the acquisition of Scalar, we've been able to, again, take on a much stronger national presence and actually being able to operate in local markets. Now we have over 900 coworkers in Canada. We have two Toronto-based offices, and one in Etobicoke, the other one in downtown Toronto, and then the other 7 offices across the country. We like to say wherever there's an NHL team, we have an office, with the addition of Victoria, which we just recently added on a few months ago. We have, as I mentioned, over 900 coworkers in the Canadian organization, and just shy of 300 information technology field specialists, as I mentioned, able to help integrate our customer solutions. Our Canadian revenues are forecasted. I should probably put a footnote in there with an asterisk, but before COVID, we are forecasting a $1.4 billion revenue this year. And again, trending and growing our market share very, very significantly across Canada. William, I believe that is my last slide, and then I'll be happy to turn the presentation over to you at this point.
All right, thank you very much, David. We've been very close partners in Scalar, so we're actually great that they're together now and one organization, which makes it a very strong partner for Dell. My name's William Chan. I'm part of the Industry Edge and IoT team at Dell, so we specialize in IoT solutions. I'm with Safety and Security Department, which encompasses our thermal vision solution. So when COVID first started to break out in March, we were actually getting customer requests for temperature monitoring solutions. And, right out of the gate, we do a lot of AI and analytics with computer vision at Dell. That's what I've been normally doing prior to COVID. And, with the requests, we actually, what we typically do with our customers with AI and analytics is we talk to our customers and ask for the use cases that they're looking for to solve their issues or to fix a problem. So what we did was we took an existing thermal solution, so it's been used in energies, utilities, manufacturing, and smart buildings. And what we did was adapted it to human-based monitoring. So our solution is really not a new solution. It's an existing solution that was just tweaked for a specific use case. You will see a lot of different solutions on temperature monitoring, fever detection, and all that, but ours does differ. We actually offer a very true enterprise type temperature monitoring solution, and it consists of pretty much 3 main components. The first one being the thermal imaging. That would be the camera, the integration into your video platforms. But some of the secret sauce behind our solution is the artificial intelligence and the engine that drives it behind the scenes after the camera. The other key difference is our enterprise capabilities with our system. So really, it's a true IoT system You can integrate it into existing systems, a very open platform, and very manageable and automated. Most solution part of it, it does utilize a thermal camera, and it's a very accurate camera. So what we're doing is using the thermal camera to detect temperatures on humans, as opposed to what we were doing in the past with buildings or machinery and all that. So we're using a camera called Mobitech, and what it has is it's a dual camera system with a thermal camera and a color RGB camera. It's, like I said, highly accurate to 0.1 degrees Celsius. And what it does, it does calibrate. So it does take ambient temperature. It does take account of the temperature surrounding people and different conditions. So when winter comes or summer comes and the temperature is different, you can calibrate it. Well, it does calibrate to take account of the surrounding environment just to get that accuracy. Uh, With our solution, some of the key features is that AI engine. So with the artificial intelligence, we use facial targeting, and we're actually taking a look to analyze where the highest temperatures are on the human body. And typically it's in the face, and accurate areas are the mouth and the eyes. Uh, Again, with the AI engine, it has different capabilities. So we can do facial recognition, we can do social distancing analysis, we can do mask verification, and at the moment they're adding a contact tracking module to it. Again, like I said, it's a very open platform, and you can actually tweak the analytics to do whatever you would like it to do. Just to give you I presented for an airport. So this is a typical picture of a terminal. And if you notice on the top right, it is the deep vision AI engine that actually is driving the intelligence behind the system. So, so as people are moving through the field of view, you'll actually see a targeting on the face area, and then the green depicts a verified temperature, and the red is a non-verified temperature. Gray is still acquiring the temperature, and that's that automation behind the system, where you're not the one trying to determine what the temperature is, but it is giving you a verified temperature and a very accurate temperature. So our deployment comes in two different flavors. What we call the mobile solution, which consists of a cart. So the thermal camera is mounted at the top, and this is a self-contained system. It has the workstation with GPU there, and it has the touchscreen for you to just see all the temperature. There's two versions of the cart. There's the base version. If you've looked at other temperature monitoring systems, you'll see that there's this more simplified version, which are like carts or kiosks. So we can get this in one of those more simplified versions without the analytics features, but then we can also get the cart version with all the intelligence and enterprise capabilities. What we're seeing typically with a lot of our larger customers is they're going towards a centralized deployment of this thermal solution. So this is more of a permanent setup where you actually mount the cameras in front of your entranceways or your corridors or the areas that you're looking to monitor human temperatures. All the intelligence is brought back into the data center and running on your in your data center on rack-mounted servers. The cameras are all PoE, whether it's on the cart or whether it's on the solution. So it's the same camera, and we're just deploying it differently. You can also add any storage on the back end if you need longer term retention for all the component of this is really our rules engine. So with our system, as being a true IoT system, what you can really do is you can put whatever sensor you want at the edge. And in our case, our thermal camera is our sensor, which is just an edge device. So that's pulling our data into our data center, and here we can do the analysis on it. So whatever events we're looking for, we can create triggers, and it can, if you detect higher temperatures, it can either send an email, it can have an alarm, it can send something to a printer. It can integrate with your access control, so it can deny access to a badge. It can integrate with your video management system, so it can flag. It can do facial recognition, and if it recognizes a person, it can actually send a text to its cell phone saying, "Oh, by the way, you've just been flagged with a higher elevated temperature. Please go see HR," or send an email. So it's very automated. And what we're seeing is that real capability, instead of having a person monitor entrance ways and being that gatekeeper to flag anybody with elevated temperatures. This method is more passive and more automated. So it's it's very flexible in that way. And again, as an open system, you can integrate using REST APIs or RPC calls into your VMS or access control systems. And enterprise management is also one of the differentiators in our system. You can interface, the user interface to how you want to see everything. So on the bottom left hand, we can actually see the map of California here. And each one of the red indicators means there's a system there. If you click on one of them, one of the other screens will pop up and you can start to see what's going on in that instance of it. So if I had a bunch of plants and I click on one of my plants and I'm actually starting to see that out of the last 100 people that came in, I flagged, 50 of them with higher temperatures. I can indicate that, hey, I may have a breakout in this plant. So, it's truly enterprise. So you can have deployments all throughout the world and have a single pane of glass to manage it and integrate into your systems. So, just to give you an idea of the different bundles, we actually have the first one, which is more the simplified card type, where it is actually you require some manual intervention there because you're not using the automation and the intelligence with enterprise management there. So the advanced card will have, it is the same setup, but it actually has the intelligence and enterprise features built into it. And then the centralized kit is the ability to have fixed cameras, and you can manage your remote sites. If you had advanced mobile carts at different sites, you can pull all that in centrally. So that's the high level information on our thermal discussion. Tested and validated our, we actually have dedicated labs in our IoT department that actually work with our vendors, software vendors, ISVs, our VMS vendors, access control, and we validated and tested all the systems on our Dell platforms. So it actually takes away a lot of the risk. Like I said, we've been working on this project since the beginning of March or mid-March, and it has been completely validated. We actually worked with some early adopters that you'll actually know some of these large companies are beginning to open up, and they've actually announced launch dates of when they open because they are integrating some of our technology into their organizations. So more information, you can get a hold of myself or David or your CDW counterparts, and we can have even further discussions. So I'll have the Q&A, open up the Q&A session right now. And is it David? So David or Robert, will you be unmuting customers for questions?
Actually, William, we're not going to be doing that. For anyone online who's got a question, again, please feel free to jot your notes down in the Q&A section. I'm happy to do that. We did have a number of Q&A questions pre-submitted, so William, I'll fire them off your way, so bear with me. Question number one is, how are companies addressing privacy laws against this type of screening? Obviously, some sensitivity around that technology out in the market, and love to have your feedback and how that's being addressed.
Sure. So there's two areas here for privacy. One is on the temperature, and one is just on the camera section. So the privacy rules in Canada follow the global privacy, the GDPR regulations. And what GDPR regulations are is if you're in a public place, you should not be keeping recorded videos of people's faces and identities. So as long as you're not keeping that, GDPR. If it's on private property, so whether it's a building or your plant, you can continue recording and keep that video, but you should be letting people know that they are being recorded in that area. And there's also another, depending on what countries you're in, some say that you can continue to record the video, but if you can redact the identity, so you can either blur the face or put a black box in front of it, you're not actually capturing their identity, and that's completely within the GDPR regulations. As for the thermal information, it also says that you should not be keeping a record of like a person, a specific person, and their temperature record. They're saying if I'm going into my building every day and you're continuing to record my temperature, you're actually breaching privacy. So if you can actually track the temperature as they come in and leave, but as long as you're not storing that and keeping a historical record of their temperature, you're well within the privacy regulations. That answer the question sufficiently?
Certainly from my desk it did, William. I again appreciate that. So just to clarify again, I'm reading some pre-canned questions here, but there was another one that came out. Just is there any data secured on any Canadian cloud servers? Is there any, again, I think you already clarified that a little bit further, but there was a similar question. And again, if there's just to clarify, if any data is stored, how is it stored and where?
Yeah. So our system has capability to use the cloud for management, but we do not use cloud for storage. The capability is you can store locally on, if you're using the cart, you can store locally on the workstation that's there. If you're on a centralized, you can also choose to store on the servers or external storage, as I mentioned in the presentation. But that is an option. So it's the choice of the user whether you're going to choose to store any video or thermal information. But none of it is stored on the cloud. We have cloud management, and it's a management feature only.
Excellent, thank you for that. Kind of changing tone here a little bit, or not tone, but just again pivoting a little bit. There's a couple questions around the technology itself. Testing, again, the question was, testing previous infrared thermometer shows inaccuracy until a person is acclimatized to the environment. How does this one work, particularly when you're dealing with body temperatures in winter months and so on?
Yeah, the camera is a very high-end camera. The cost of the camera is quite significant, and because of that, it has very accurate capabilities. So with varying environments, like I did mention that it does have calibration and it should be calibrated pretty much on a daily basis. So, before the start of the day, you can run the calibration. The camera takes a look at the surrounding area. You can also use what we call black body uh, to calibration. So it's an extra um, device that will also take temperature readings of the surrounding and just validate it with the camera, but it's not a requirement. You'll still get very high accuracy, the 0.1 accuracy, without using a black body device.
Very good. Thank you. And the last question that I've got that was previously submitted was just around references. William, where are you seeing, or where is Dell seeing adoption or early adoption of this technology? Obviously, since the March timeframe, obviously COVID's taken off. I know in some of our internal training discussions, you've referenced a number of large U.S. organizations, but again, if there's any references you can preface and reference them, that would be terrific and helpful for some of the folks on the line.
Yeah, well, pretty much it's everybody has, we've had requests from every area, to be honest. But some of the early adopters, so I can mention some of our Dell customers because as Dell customers, they actually came to us at the early stages requesting the technology. So early adopters were like the U.S. military; they're a huge customer of Dell's. Disney is a very well-known one. They were losing billions as their parks were closed. They've actually announced that they will be opening, and it wasn't just because of time. It was just due to their diligence to do whatever they can to ensure safety into their parks. Banks, malls, manufacturing, those are very common industries that we've been working with, and we've actually sold several to those verticals. But really, there isn't any specific vertical that is left out in this. But all of the obvious ones, like I mentioned, manufacturing, retail, banking, even just normal business buildings where they need to get their employees into their offices and all that. So everyone is a customer.
Excellent. Again, thank you for that. That's it for the predetermined questions that we've received. If anyone else attending has any questions, by all means, feel free to jot them down in the Q&A window. And Robert and myself will be happy to queue them up for William. Again, don't be shy. This is your time. And again, we once again appreciate everyone attending. And again, if you'd like to ask any further questions, feel free to do so. If not, also a number of your CDW account managers are attending. And if there's any specific follow-up sessions you would like to have, obviously, we'd be happy to share this information from the deck with you individually, but also would be happy to facilitate a more specific presentation and discussion with your organization with William and or some of his Dell Technologies counterparts. We'd be happy to facilitate that for you as well.
So while we're waiting for questions, I can actually talk a little bit more about some of the other features. So the mass detection was one that was very easily adopted. So prior to COVID, like I said, we've taken existing use cases that we were requested for with our customers and just readapted it. So in the construction industry, they were actually looking a lot for hard hat violations. So they asked us if we had the ability to detect and flag any people in hard hat areas that were not wearing hard hats. So we just did the analytics for that and gave that use case. So for the mass detection, what we did was we just tweaked that analytics. We're doing a scan of the face area. If we can detect the face mask, it can be a yes or no. then we just readapted that module for face mask detection. The social distancing, that's been rejigged from a lot of old use cases. So we use density and people counting. So tweaking those modules, we were able to get very accurate. So we can actually put a distance around every person and understand and see and do our analytics to see anyone infringing a distance between people. So that was very easy to adapt to. But again, we can adapt to with video analytics and AI. We've got a lot of flexibility to change the needs for our customers and adapt to whatever requests that we do get. Did we get any other questions?
Actually, just Antonio's requested a follow-up on the presentation. So again, we will be, yes, I got your name down, Antonio, and we will make sure that you do get a copy of the presentation emailed on to yourself, and then you could feel free to pass it on to the relevant management team within your organization. Yes, we'd be more than happy to do that for you. Aside from that, William, at this point in time, we do not have any additional questions.
Okay.
I think it's being very Canadian of us, and we're probably a little shy, right? But
it's true, because I've done some of the American presentations, and they just ask. They continue to ask.
That's true. Anyway, just on that, obviously, again, on behalf of CDW and our great partner Dell Technologies, we wanted to thank all of you for attending again on a Friday afternoon. Again, we do appreciate your time. We do have all your names logged in email, and we will make sure that they're passed on to your appropriate CDW account manager, and we will share as much information with you as possible. And as again I mentioned previously, we certainly appreciate your support and time today. And as I mentioned, we'd be very happy to arrange a more personal presentation or customized to your specific organization, and drill down into the level of requirements that you would need. I'm very happy to do so. It is. I will be very clear. This product is in very high demand. Obviously, there's a significant amount of interest in it. So if you are interested in a follow-up, I do encourage you to don't hold back and make sure that one can get information back to you and present that back to you. As you can appreciate, we are in high demand at this particular point in time, and have some significant rollouts planned for organizations across the country. And we want to make sure that we're addressing all your specific needs and requirements as efficiently as possible. So don't be shy, and certainly feel free to follow up as soon as you can.
Yeah, and one common question that was asked is the lead time. In the beginning, it was 4 to 6 weeks, but as demand is getting higher, that we'll try to adhere to that 4 to 6 weeks, but it's really ramping up quite quickly.
Again, thank you for that, William. Okay, without any further ado, we'll wrap up today's session. Again, I appreciate everyone attending, and thank you, and have a terrific weekend, and continue to stay healthy and safe. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dave. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.